Liverpool minus 400. Home favorites against Brighton, who are 10-1 right now. The draw plus 550. This is another 10 a.m. Saturday kickoff. The question for me is, can Brighton's defense hold up? Right? They did not do that against Manchester City last weekend. I couldn't watch the game. I was doing something, and while I was doing it, I asked my Alexa what the score was because I was on the under, and she told me it was 3-0 in like the 38th minute or something, and that was thoroughly depressing. A really, really terrible way to lose a bet, to hear a robot tell you that you did lose it. But I'm going to Brighton here, 10-1, too big. We love this team. They're good enough that when they're at this number, you should always be interested. I don't think I've ever won a bet against Liverpool, and that streak will probably continue this week. BJ, are you going with your Seagulls?
Yeah, but I'm not looking forward to this one. I mean, Liverpool just looks unstoppable right now. But I think we're reaching a point where Liverpool is going to be overvalued in pretty much every match where they play an inferior opponent. I mean, their offense with Mo Salah is averaging 2.77 non-penalty expected goals per match, and they're number one in pretty much every single offensive metric. But I do think there are a couple things that Brighton can do to give them some trouble. So first off, Brighton will be able to handle Liverpool's high press because they're fourth in offensive passes per defensive action and third in pressure success rate allowed. Defensively, they also have the third best pressure success rate, and Liverpool's 12th against pressure this season. So to beat Liverpool, you almost have to beat them at their own game. And Brighton is capable of doing that. Plus, their best midfielder, Basuma, came off the bench in the League Cup match against Leicester on Wednesday. So hopefully he'll be back in the lineup along with Enoch and Wepu, who are two incredible pressing midfielders. And Liverpool is a little banged up in the midfield. James Milner and Naby Keita went off with injuries against Manchester United. Thiago is still out, so they're pretty thin in the midfield, which will favor Brighton if Mwepu and Basuma are playing together. And I really hope they are. But projection-wise, I only have Liverpool at minus 203, so I do like Brighton's spread of +2 at minus 140, but I would caution people to wait until Saturday for two reasons. One, I want to make sure that Basuma and Mwepu are in the lineup together, and second off, I think Liverpool is going to get steamed hard on Saturday. Everybody just sees Liverpool, how good they are, and they might go up to minus 430, minus 450, and you might be able to get Brighton at a better price. So at the time of taking this, I'll take Brighton +2 at minus 140.
Yeah, I don't know who Georgia or Alabama are playing this weekend in college football, but I wouldn't be surprised if some books take a lot of get out of jail free cards with parlays with Liverpool and one of those SEC powerhouses. Anthony, you have to be joining us here, right? Backing Brighton some way.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to cool a little bit, and I think my best call last week was staying off the Brighton train for a change, but they got throttled. But I think City is just a bad matchup. City is just a much better version of what Brighton wants to do. Whereas what BJ mentioned, everybody wants to talk about how amazing Liverpool was against Manchester United. I actually didn't think they were that good. I thought it was more of United being really bad. Liverpool were very sloppy in the midfield. They still allowed 11 shots in the first 40 minutes of the game. They allowed over 1.5 expected goals to Manchester United. They played one of the lightest midfields that they can possibly play. Fabinho is questionable for this match. When Fabinho is out, it forces Henderson to do more running that he's not really able to do anymore. He doesn't quite have the defensive solidity that he used to as he's getting older. Thiago is out. He's such a great press resistant player. He's so good at keeping the ball, recycling possession. He's likely not going to play. Like you mentioned, James Milner is unlikely to play. So who's Liverpool going to in this midfield? And Klopp may make the same choice. He may say, we're going to outscore Brighton. And they probably will. And they almost certainly will outscore Brighton in this game. But they're also going to be open at the back in the same way. And for that reason, I'm taking both teams to score at +105. I think Brighton gets on the board here. Brighton, as BJ mentioned, pretty press resistant. Will be able to play through the press a little bit, get together some passing combinations and move the ball up the field and not be overwhelmed by the Liverpool press. So I think that's a big part of this, one. And two, Liverpool's defense is due for some negative regression. They've allowed about 6 actual goals from a little over 10 expected. Manchester United probably should have got 1, maybe even 2 in that game. So like I mentioned, it wasn't a completely comprehensive performance from Liverpool, reading between the lines, looking at some of the numbers. And if they play a similarly light midfield that doesn't have a lot of defensive solidity, I think Brighton gets on the board here. So I like the Seagulls and the Reds, both teams to score +105.